They just completely bite it, and people are sprawled out everywhere. So another automotive dream of mine was to become a race car driver. Because I'm not sponsored by Pepsi Cola, I decided to get into lemons racing because that's actually affordable and it's along the lines of the ridiculous types of things that I like to do. Some friends of mine had a team and they asked me to come along as the driver. So I, of course, said, absolutely, I've been waiting for you to ask. So we embarked on this journey with a 1997 Volkswagen GTI. And like most people getting into lemons, we were pretty much complete amateurs. We had no idea that you had to bribe the judges. So we showed up, and even though we had a solid Class B car, they wanted to put us in Class A. And of course, waiting for us to bribe them. So instead, we took Class B with a whole ton of penalty laps. So our first race, we had absolutely no chance. It was a good learning experience. We probably had 6 black flags over the course of the weekend. I mean, just absolute amateur hour. We learned that we needed to bring spare parts because stuff breaks. We learned that we needed to drive cleanly. So part of the whole lemons shtick is that your car has to be under $500 purchase price. You have an unlimited safety budget, but you can't go above the total investment of $500 for your car. So you can't do cheating motors. And to ensure fairness, they have what they call the BS inspection, which I think stands for Barbra Streisand, but I'm not sure. They go through your car. There's a couple of gearheads that are incredibly sarcastic, and they ask you questions like, are you running the factory coolant in this car? Which is, of course, a trick question because you have to run water. They look at your car and assign you penalty laps based on a combination of whether or not they think your car will catch on fire, blow up, whether or not they think you'll be fast, how good your team is in general. So the second time around, we brought good bribes and we got Class B with 0 penalty laps, which is right where we wanted to be. We would go on the forums and figure out what they wanted. So we brought one guy a carburetor for his Chrysler motor on this hot rod he was building. We brought a race seat for another guy. I brought a Porsche whale tail for the guys so that they could weld onto somebody's car for a penalty. So they started to like our team because we brought them really interesting bribes. And we didn't win our second race either. We had mechanical issues, and probably more black flags and things like that. And we started to institute team penalties so that if somebody spun or somebody got a black flag, we assessed them a $100 fine, because we quickly learned that even though we might gain 2 seconds a lap by driving the wheels off the car, if something broke or if we got a black flag, we lost 8 laps and that went out the window. So if you get too many black flags, they dream up all these crazy penalties where they either make you park for a while, but usually it's something more interesting. Like they made one team take the door off their car and take it into a local bar, and they had to get a picture in full race garb with the door and the bartender and then come back. So you really didn't want to get more than 3 black flags in a day. And we ended up rebranding our car and our team. One of my favorite videos is the Car Bros story of a teenager's first Ferrari. Epic video, very hilarious. This was our team theme, which almost nobody got, so it was even funnier. I wore this to the Amelia Island Concours because apparently I don't need anybody to respect me ever, so I wear things like this to a big Concours event. But I get on the shuttle to the Concours with the president of the Mid-Atlantic Region Ferrari Club. And he sees my shirt and goes, "Oh, what kind of Ferrari do you have?" And goes on and this and that. We're talking about Ferraris for 15 minutes. We get off the bus and his wife looks at my shirt with a scowl and goes, "It's spelled wrong." And sometimes the off-track shenanigans are just as fun as the on-track ones. Pretty much every time we go to Walmart, it's an adventure. And what has now become a tradition is one of the teammates, Frank, got the handicap thingamajigger and starts going at 1.5 miles an hour through Walmart. And he's laughing uncontrollably, but he has to keep a straight face, so his shoulders are just shaking, and we're all dying filming him. But of course, once he commits to it, he's committed. So we made him do that the whole time. And then we, of course, have our pit bikes, and one of them we've nicknamed the Widowmaker because it is a torque monster. We had the mistake of having two people on it, one person facing backwards, and I'm on the other bike behind them, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just completely bite it, and people are sprawled out everywhere and this and that. So they have a very strict pit speed, and it's 10 miles an hour for the race cars. And I was up on the hill spotting and running the radio. The chicken was ready for lunch. So I, of course, had to get back to the pits in a hurry. So I'm flying through the pits, full bore on this thing, which is probably 20 miles an hour. And one of the officials just yells at me, "Park it right now!" And so he yells at me, and so I clamp the brakes and, of course, slide to a stop and fall off the bike. As much as I'm a lawbreaker, I hate having anyone annoyed at me. So I had brought my laser gun with me for the weekend because I thought, man, this will be fun. Why not? So as a peace offering, I went up to where his pits were located because he was also racing with the team, and I brought him the laser gun, and I said, hey, you want to use this to enforce speed in the pits? And I showed him how to use it and all that. And so he goes, how about you do that for an hour and I'll let you have your pit bike back. It was the slowest speed trap ever, but I got all excited about it. I'd have him come over and yell at them. And it was great because they're all my competitors. So I'm like, yeah, park them. So there's all sorts of fun things like that have nothing to do with racing, but make the Lemons weekend a lot more fun. But a lot of people are there to win and build some really cheaty cars. And ours was completely by the book. Completely. We were racing at Autobahn Country Club and ended the first day in first place by 5 laps. And we were really surprised because there were some very fast cars in our class. And so the guys radioed, hey, chase down this car there in first. So I chased them down. I gained a couple laps on them, and they said, okay, just back off. So we're joking around on the radio, singing songs to each other, this and that. And with 45 minutes left in the race, we were up by 5 or 7 laps. I come into a corner and I brake for the corner. It was like I hit a slick of oil, just total loss of control. I had no idea what was going on. The car went sideways. I put the clutch in and came to a stop on track, but there's also all these noises happening. So I'm like, okay, I didn't hit oil, but I don't know what happened. I radioed to the guys. I'm like, we're done. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know, we're done. A weld had snapped on the control arm, which is a kind of freak happening. Came back to the next race and just kind of everything went wrong. That wasn't our time to win, so that was pretty frustrating. So then I think this was our 6th attempt at this. We were doing really, really well, and I'm in the car again and go to break into a corner. And it was like the same thing happened, just all of a sudden loss of control, all these noises, this and that. I kept it on track again, but came to a stop. Apparently there's a bolt in the transmission that likes to work itself loose. It's a common problem in these VWs, and it had made its way through the transmission and out the case. That time we were 10 laps ahead. We knew we had it in us to win. So our 7th attempt, we started out and things really weren't going well. One of my co-drivers got a black flag for just overdriving the car. The Achilles heel of our team has been the radios. Sometimes it's the mic, sometimes it's receiving. It's just we can never get them working properly. And I had no idea where we were at, so I was pushing it as hard as possible. I knew I had made up some time because I knew I had passed some of our competitors and I had seen a couple of them go in. And it was this long sweeper, so I kind of set up for the slingshot to pass them coming out. And there was a corner station way over here that was tough to see. And as I'm coming out of the corner, committed to the pass, I see them pull out a yellow flag. Not trusting the other car to not just hit their brakes when they saw the yellow flag, I panicked and stabbed my brakes. An amateur mistake. Usually I'm smoother than that, but because there was still some load on the car, when I hit the brakes, it instantly spun the car. And I kept it on track. When you spin both feet in, I kept it going, but it was an on-track spin, and so I knew I was going to get a black flag. So I went into penalty. He asked what happened, and I busted out into a Britney Spears rendition of Oops, I Spun It Again, because if you can get the judges on your side, that helps. But I appealed to the fact that we had made multiple donations to the Lemons of Love charity and asked them to look at the rows of basically get out of jail free stickers across our windshield. And so they said, okay, your generosity has saved you. But I found out after this that I had got us into first place and had a lead margin of multiple laps. But that black flag put us back into second place. We had gotten our radios working properly, and we come around and I heard the race control call out that they were going to drop the green. So I downshifted. I got right outside of him and just waited. And as soon as they called out green flag on the radio, I just punched it. I passed him before we even got to the start finish line. So I got back first before, basically as soon as the race started, and, made up a couple laps on him. Teammate Frank took over and cruised to victory, but it was nerve-wracking because what had happened to us twice before. So we're counting the laps, just going, please don't break, coaching him through. When he finally came in, they threw the checkered flag. We knew we had won our class. It was an epic feeling. It was so good after all the trials and failures before that. So it was a really good feeling, and we immediately put up our car for sale because it now had race provenance.